sure. Yeah, check. All right. I know I don't be posting consistently, but assalamu alaikum. Uh, I had something on my mind. I've been posting more on TikTok. I really do wanted to make a page talking about um, Islam on a daily basis, but every time I post something, it's just so much hate on the site, man. And it always turned racial. And I find myself spending a lot of time talking about racist topics, and um, quite often I find other Muslims in there talking about basically that uh, I'm a nationalist, and Islam doesn't teach that, doesn't practice that. I mean, you can't be Muslim and practice that, right? And it's just such it's so hypocritical of people to say that because of the many nationalistic movements in the Islamic world. Now, I know nationalism is not something that Islam promotes, but but people are so often to attack black people with this thing of, oh, stop being a nationalist, but we don't never talk about Arab nationalism or I mean, I don't want to point out any group. We don't ever talk about other nationalistic movements. So today, that's what I'm gonna talk about. Talk about other nationalistic movements that did get pushback, but and people still have these practices, and the rhetoric is still out there. The attitudes are still out there. The nationalism is definitely still out there. I mean, I think people are just privileged enough to not be able to see it because an Arab family is more likely to marry their daughter to another Middle Eastern like Pakistani, um, Malaysian, um, Emirati. You know, I mean, basically seemingly any other person that could come up with that check that's not African. And believe it or not, Africans are actually being taxed to marry Saudi women, and we got such this embedded deep self hate that we'll gladly pay the tax to marry Saudi women, Yemeni women, um, any light Middle Eastern woman, really. And that's just because of our minds been colonized so deeply that we hate everything that's black. So we aspire to in America it's this aspiringness, and in a lot of African countries this is this aspiringness to whiteness amongst the general population, but amongst the Muslim population it's this aspire it's the aspiration towards Arabness. So it's kind of similar. And when I was overseas, I met this brother, and he was like kind of breaking it down to me. He didn't know what he was saying to me, but I was picking up on it, and he was just oblivious to it because he was over there. He was working crazy hours. This brother, it's crazy, man. That's one of the beauties of being Muslim. Is we met this brother. He was so hospitable. He was staying over there. He was on a work visa, and he was grinding so he can get married. And man, my man's we met him like on the outskirts. We were just moving around. He spoke English, and he was like, "Yo, just get where y'all trying to go. I'll take y'all when I get off work." And we're like, "No, we don't want to bother you." He like, "No, bro, this is on me. I'm gonna come and get y'all. I'll take y'all to Jeddah." And we're like, "All right." We try to give him gas money. He was like, "Bro, I get cheap gases over here." He like, "Don't worry about it." Um, so he was just real hospitable, and we had a conversation. He was telling us how he was working all these hours, and we're like, what you saving up for? And he was like, he want to get married. So alhamdulillah, we thinking it's all good. That's what's up. So he was telling us how he had these aspirations of marrying woman from there, a Saudi woman, and how expensive it was and how hard he had to work. And I was like, how much is it? You won't believe the number that he told me. He said it could be anywhere from 80 to 100,000. 80 to like 100 and something thousand, 100,000 plus. So I'm thinking like, all right, maybe he's talking about like reals or, you know what I'm saying? Even though he's saying dollars, I'm like, he like, no, like US dollars, like US dollars. He said, if the girl really like you, then maybe she could convince her family to, come down to like 50, but that's rare. You know what I'm saying? Is he like, that's rare? And I was like, wow. Like, wow. And tried to get into why he didn't just marry somebody from his own country, and he didn't really want to talk about it. It was just like, kind of circumvented the conversation, like, skirt, skirt, let's talk about something else. And it wasn't like like, oh no, I'm not going to talk about that. It was just more so like it's subliminal. Didn't really see the importance of in fleshing that out, and I ain't want to be intrusive. So, afterwards I asked my man, I'm like, yo, did you think that was weird? He was like, yeah, that was kind of strange. Um, so yeah. And I also actually, in fact, I'm gonna try to put that in here. I came across a video just recently. Now that first story that was back in 2014 maybe, and recently I seen a video, and it was two sisters. They was talking about how much they can get for their mar. I think one of them was Yemeni, and one of them was maybe Palestinian. I'm not sure, but they was talking about some bags. Like, it wasn't that high, but it was up there. You know what I mean? Close to 50, 60, I think he was talking about. I'll try to find a video. And and I'm not knocking the brothers. You want what you want, and but it just goes to show that we need to see blacks in America. We don't have a nation. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we from Africa, but sometimes it's even a fight to be claimed there. A lot of times they don't want to claim us, but you can't. Your lineage is your lineage. So as African people, even though we don't know which continent which country we come from, we still claim the continent. A lot of us. And of course, there's a lot of tribalism, but because we don't really have a home that was taken from us, something that I feel a lot of anxiety and stress over, and people don't usually understand why. Like, my wife don't even understand why. It's like, because it's nothing we can do about it, because that was taken from us. It wasn't kept. The records of that wasn't kept, and there's really nothing we can do about it. But sometimes I just feel lost about that, and something that I kind of struggle with. Not to the point where I'm like losing sleep over it, but close. You know, um, just I don't know. It's just like a hole there where you don't have a history. You know what I'm saying? You could kind of go back a few generations, and then it's an added layer to my situation because of how my family, coming out of slavery, my grandfather had to put in some work to basically get free. Caught a body, and he ended up adopting that identity, the person he took out, and so I don't even know what his last name was before that. This was my grandfather's father, I believe. Yeah, my grandfather's father, and I might have to cut that out. And so my lineage on my maternal side gets cut pretty short because of that. Um, And then on my paternal side, it's just a lot of trauma there. So that kind of, my family on my paternal side, my family goes back to Georgia, and but they are pretty successful. And my dad's mom was kind of like the black sheep, and she died early. She died when he was young of cancer, and my dad don't really like to talk about it. And my aunt that was alive that still knew that history, I would talk to her about it sometimes. But she was like stone cold Christian, and she always wanted to